You're 38 years old, scrolling your phone at 11 at night. You just typed, "How much money do I need to retire?" into Google. 3 different articles gave you 3 completely different numbers, and none felt right. One says 4,000 a month, another says 6, a third screams 12. Your stomach tightens a little because none of those numbers feel like yours. That tight feeling isn't about math. It's about fear wearing a spreadsheet costume. Tonight, I want to take that fear apart and actually look inside it. Maybe you scrolled past a cousin's vacation photos right after closing that Google search. Suddenly, your retirement anxiety had a face attached and it stung more than expected. That's not a coincidence. Comparison is basically the default setting of the human brain. We're wired to measure ourselves against the tribe, even when the tribe is strangers. So let's slow down and get honest about the numbers that actually matter to you. Here's the truth nobody says out loud. There is no universal retirement number. Every single one of those YouTube thumbnails is technically correct, and that's confusing. 4,000 a month works for someone in rural Ohio with a paid-off house. 12,000 a month might barely cover someone renting in downtown San Francisco. We treat retirement like a fixed destination when it's actually a personal lifestyle equation. Most people don't fail at retirement planning because they're lazy or bad with money. They fail because they're chasing someone else's number instead of building their own. Maybe part of your fear comes from watching a parent struggle financially later in life. That memory sits quietly in the background, shaping decisions you don't even realize consciously. Naming that fear openly takes away a surprising amount of its quiet emotional power. So let's stop asking what the internet says and start asking what you actually need. Let's start with the $4,000 lifestyle, because it's more common than people admit. Think of someone like Sarah, 62, living quietly outside Dayton, Ohio right now. That's someone in a smaller city, mortgage paid off, kids grown and gone, no debt, modest groceries, maybe one vacation a year, nothing extravagant at all. Sarah doesn't feel poor. She feels calm because her costs match her life. Using the classic 4% rule, that means roughly 1.2 million saved. That rule simply says withdraw 4% yearly and your money should statistically last. Now picture the $6,000 lifestyle, which is where most middle-class dreams live. Now think of the Martins, a couple in their 50s living outside Charlotte, together. This is a suburban home, maybe a car payment, dinners out twice a month. It's comfortable, it's normal, and it's the number most financial calculators quietly assume. The Martins don't feel rich either. They simply feel appropriately, comfortably in the middle. That lifestyle needs roughly $1.8 million sitting in retirement accounts. And then there's $12,000 a month, the number that makes people close the tab. Compare that to David and Elena, both 55, living in downtown Seattle currently. That's a paid-off home in an expensive city. Travel, private healthcare, real financial breathing room. David and Elena aren't extravagant. Their city simply demands a much higher baseline. That math lands around $3.6 million, which sounds almost impossible today. But here's what almost nobody says clearly. The number isn't really about the money. It's about the life you're quietly picturing when you close your eyes at night. Psychologists call this lifestyle anchoring, where your past spending quietly defines future expectations. If you're used to spending $6,000 now, $4,000 later will feel like loss. That feeling of loss is why so many retirees feel anxious despite having enough. It's not about the account balance. It's about the gap between expectation and reality. There's also a quieter number hiding underneath all three, and it's called your baseline. Your baseline is what you need to simply cover rent, food, and basic bills. Everything above that baseline is really a choice about comfort, not actual survival. Most anxiety around retirement comes from blending survival needs with lifestyle wants together. Once you separate the two, the giant scary number suddenly gets a lot smaller. Let's talk briefly about where this money actually comes from in real life. For most Americans, it's a blend of Social Security, a 401k, and personal savings. Social Security typically covers a portion, not the whole picture for most retirees today. Your 401k, especially with an employer match, quietly does a lot of heavy lifting. That employer match is essentially free money, and skipping it means leaving money behind. None of these pieces need to be perfect. They just need to work together. There's one more quiet variable that most retirement calculators tend to seriously underestimate. Healthcare costs tend to rise faster than general inflation as we get older. That's not meant to scare you. It's simply meant to be planned for, honestly. Building a small buffer into your number gives you breathing room down the road. Even a modest emergency fund outside your investments can prevent real financial panic. Think 3 to 6 months of expenses, sitting quietly, untouched, waiting for real emergencies. Here's the shift that changes everything. Retirement isn't a number, it's a design. You're not saving towards some magical figure a stranger posted on the internet. You're designing a monthly life, and then reverse engineering the money to support it. That single mental shift moves you from panic mode into something closer to clarity. Instead of asking, "Am I behind?" you start asking, "What does my life cost?" That question is answerable, measurable, and honestly a little bit empowering to sit with. Compound interest becomes less scary once you realize time matters more than perfection. A 25-year-old saving $300 a month will likely outpace a rushed 40-year-old. That's not motivation talk. That's simply how compound growth quietly works in the background. The turning point isn't discovering a secret. It's finally trusting your own specific math. I think about a man named Robert, who retired last year outside Tampa, Florida. Robert spent years terrified he needed close to $2 million saved up eventually. When he actually tracked his spending, his real number was closer to $900,000. That gap between fear and reality gave Robert back nearly 3 years of his life. 3 extra years with grandkids, simply because he trusted math over borrowed internet anxiety. So how do you actually find your real number without spiraling into a panic? Saving is not a failure. It's actually the foundation that everything else is built on. Not your ideal budget, your real spending. Coffee runs, subscriptions, and takeout included. Honestly, multiply that monthly number by 12, and you've found your current annual baseline cost. Multiply that annual number by 25 using the same logic as the 4% rule. That final figure is your personal retirement target, not some borrowed internet headline number. From there, automate a consistent contribution, even if it feels embarrassingly small right now. If your employer offers a 401k match, treat that match like an actual raise. Contribute enough to capture the full match before optimizing anything else in your budget. Small and consistent quietly beats large and occasional almost every single time long term. Revisit that number once a year because your life and your costs will shift. This isn't about hitting some perfect figure by a specific pressure-filled magic birthday. It's about steadily narrowing the gap between where you are and where you're headed. So maybe the real question was never $4,000, $6,000, or $12,000. Maybe the real question is simply, what does a peaceful life cost for you? You don't need Wall Street's number. You need a number that fits your life. That number might shrink once you stop comparing yourself to strangers on the internet. It might grow once you get honest about what actually brings you real peace. Either way, that number is yours, and it deserves to be treated that way. This video isn't telling you which number is right, because that's genuinely not my call. It's simply reminding you that clarity is available, even when the internet feels overwhelming. You have more control over this outcome than any scary headline wants you to believe. You're not behind. You're simply still building a picture that was never finished. Progress here doesn't need to be dramatic. It just needs to be honest and steady. 1% more clarity today beats 100% certainty you'll never actually reach. You are allowed to move at your own pace without apologizing for the timeline. Whatever number you land on, it's valid simply because it reflects your real life. So take a breath, find your real number, and let go of everyone else's. Because progress, quietly and consistently, will always be chasing an impossible version of perfect. That's really the whole point of tonight. More clarity, a little less fear.